Hey guys, happy Monday. Welcome back to another Monday review. Today I have a Beauty Pie product to review. You know, Carly and I have really been loving a lot of their products, and when I saw this on their website, I knew I had to try it. This is the Beauty Pie Glow All Super Powder Face Palette. It's a face palette, and my favorite thing about this is that it's talc free. If you guys watch our channel, you know I can't use talc in my products. I have a talc allergy, and a lot of their other face palette they had sent us when we first tried their products. Carly really liked it, but I had talc in it, so I couldn't try it. So I was so thrilled to see that this was a talc-free formula, and this is the palette. So beautiful. Like, just upon first impression, I'm like, wow, this is stunning. You get two blushes, a highlighter, and a bronzer, and there is a really nice large mirror in here. So this is perfect for travel. Before we move into the review, I actually should say the price. So if you're a Beauty Pie member, I believe it's around $17, and they always have like the typical retail price, which would be $50. And so you're getting this for such a steal, especially like the packaging feels really nice and weighted. Like I said, this is a really nice mirror, and the formula is really beautiful and luxe on this. So I can't believe that this is only $17. Okay, so now to get more so into like the formula piece of this. So this is made in Italy, and these are baked powders, I would say. Like, to the touch, they feel like baked powders, which a lot of Italian formulas are baked. And I love that because that typically means that the formula will be a little bit more finely milled, a little bit more sheer and buildable, rather than, you know, like a typical matte powder, which I love matte powders. I love matte blushes, don't get me wrong, but sometimes they can be so pigmented that you have to be really careful about how much you apply. Whereas with a baked formula like this, it's almost sheer when you first put it on, so it can really be built up and kind of customized to the level of pigmentation that you're looking for. I'll just go through each square really quick. Well, first of all, I'll insert a swatch of everything so you can kind of see it swatched out, because I do think, like, when you look at this in the palette, like, to me, like, to the eye, the bronzer looks pretty almost like cool toned, whereas it looks much warmer on my face. And then the blushes, like, this one looks really peachy, and, like, you know, they just kind of look a little bit more intense, and then when you swatch them out, you can kind of see like their true tone. So I think that would be helpful to see. But starting with the bronzer, so let me just read the shade name quickly. The bronzer is called Buddha Bronze. So another thing I want to say is that because they like have shade names for these, I'm hoping that they release these in singles, because from what I've seen on their website, I don't think they have like any baked powders. I haven't seen any like baked blushes, highlighters, or bronzers. So I hope that they transition this formula into like a single, and that would be amazing, so they can extend the shade launch. So the bronzer, like I said, in the palette, it looks almost cool toned, and then when you swatch it out, I mean, I can even put it on like the back of my hand quickly, it definitely looks way more warm on the face. And for me personally, I like more of for a bronzer with my skin tone, I like something that either has like some yellow undertones, because that's really flattering on me, or something that's a little bit more like neutral to cool. I feel like warm bronzers can sometimes make me look orange, which this one is just slightly warm. I wouldn't say it's like too warm. Hopefully you can tell, and like I said, I'll insert the swatches of everything, but it's just more warm than I expected it to be. But the formula is really nice. You can kind of tell in this swatch, like, it is pretty sheer. So I will insert a picture, or a clip of me applying this, and I have been layering this over a cream bronzer because on its own, it's almost a little too sheer for my preference, and that's just personal preference, honestly. I love bronzer. I tend to go overboard with it, especially today. I was telling Carly, I was looking at the camera in the other videos we filmed, and I'm like, I think I wore too much bronzer today, but I just like how it really warms up the face and then like helps to chisel out the cheeks. And so I like layering a more sheer cream with like a sheer powder over top. So today I used the Nestor Myricks Power Bronzer, because that one is pretty sheer and dries down to like a matte powdery finish. It's a cream bronzer, and then I just layered this over top, and I do like the combination because that's like a cream to powder that's matte, and then this one has more of a sheen to it because it is that baked formula. And it just adds like a little bit more depth, a little bit more intensity, and then adds that like sheen that makes the skin look really healthy. So I really love this, but like I said, I do like to layer on top of like a cream bronzer, because on its own, it just is like slightly less pigmented than I would prefer. But if you have more fair skin than I do, or if you're like new to face makeup type of thing, I think this would be a great palette because it would really introduce like how to use each product in a way that's not frightening. I feel like sometimes face palettes, even at like the drugstore, which is comparable to this price point at $17, I feel like they can be really pigmented. The colors can be a little bit off, whereas like the tones in this palette I feel like would flatter a lot of skin tones, and this level of pigmentation is just really easy to use. Okay, and then moving into the highlighter, which is called Cool Beams. That's a cute name. I feel like that fits it well for some reason. This I really like. I'm really picky with powder highlighters. Honestly, the only one I really wear anymore is the Ilia Decades highlighter. I feel like that one is pretty intense, but for some reason, like it blends into the skin really well and looks very natural. It doesn't look like a strip of highlight on your face, which a lot of powders can do, but this one also looks really natural. Like I said, kind of the thing I don't want to say didn't like about the bronzer, but that it was a little bit more sheer. I really like that about the highlighter because it just is subtle. It's a subtle glow, and especially with these powders, like even the blushes, I feel like you could wear the blush and you don't even need a highlighter because it adds that sheen to your face, but this just adds like a really natural, pretty sheen, and I really like this. I was actually surprised at how much I liked the highlighter because in the pan, it does look, I mean, even the name is called Cool Beans, and in the pan, I feel like I was worried it would almost look icy on the skin. Hopefully you can tell by this swatch, but it really just adds like a natural sheen, and there's not that much base pigment. So it really is just adding that sheen to your skin without, again, that strip of highlighter that like no one wants on their face. So I really like the highlighter. But I will say my favorite out of the whole palette are the blushes. I love a good baked blush formula. I just think that when it comes to blush, which is kind of like the opposite how I feel about bronzer. Bronzer, I want to be able to like sculpt and warm up the face, and like I want to not look like you're wearing bronzer, but you know what I mean? Like I want to have that like appearance of like a chiseled tan face. Whereas with blush, I feel like sometimes if you use a blush that's too pigmented, it can be hard to blend out. It can kind of like get all over your cheek. When I like my blush to be a little more precise, I kind of put it like right here, and then I kind of like to like curve it up here and even a little bit on my eyes to kind of like tie it all together. And I like a formula that is buildable because I don't want something that's too pigmented and going to take away or like compete with the bronzer, if that makes sense. So I really love this formula. I think it's just buildable enough. I use like a fluffier synthetic brush. Go in here, I'll again insert a clip of me applying this. I'm using this shade today, which is Super Juju. And then this one is Fever Peach. Fever Peach Super Juju. I don't really get that name, but anyway. This one I've been using more often. I feel like it's just more me. I like the peach one, but again, for this time of year, the peach will be really pretty in like the spring and summer, but this one is like a really pretty, like cool, neutral pink. I don't really have anything like in my collection, and again, I think it just adds a really pretty like flush of color to the cheeks while still being subtle, and then it has that like healthy sheen. So I really love this formula. Again, I really hope Beauty Pie comes out with like individual blushes in this formula because I will probably buy them all. I'm really obsessed with this, and it wears pretty well. Like a baked formula, I feel like sometimes will like wear off, you know, quicker than a typical matte blush, but it wears pretty well throughout the day and like stays intact. I was actually surprised to see that as well. So I really love the blush formula. That's kind of like the star of the show in my opinion, and I like the highlighter and the bronzer as well, but I feel like even if I'm not using those two products, I will like open this and use the blush because I love it that much. Overall, my thoughts on this, for the price, $17, again, I feel like some drugstore face palettes are more than $17, so I can't get over the price. Like the packaging is so nice, it's weighted, it has that mirror. The formula is such a luxe formula. I feel like I said, it would work on a variety of skin tones, on a variety of like skin types. Like again, like a baked formula, I feel like it's more geared towards like drier skin, but even oily skin people could use this and love this. I think that it's so beautifully done. And even though maybe some of the tones aren't my favorite, like I said, the bronzer tone, maybe not my favorite, and like that peachy shade, I like just more so for like spring and summer. But overall, I think this is a fantastic palette. I would highly recommend it. If you're a Beauty Pie member, pick this up in your next order. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I actually was traveling a couple weekends ago and I brought this with me because it's kind of just like a one and done face palette, and I don't own anything like this. I know, like, you know, Hourglass has like their holiday palettes that are kind of like a similar type of thing. Charlotte Tilbury, there are some on the market, but they're much more expensive. And even like with those, I feel like maybe you're not going to use every shade and then you just spent like $88 on a palette, which again, they're beautiful. The formula is really nice. But to be able to spend $17 and then just have something like a one and done that you can bring with you traveling, and for this like beautiful formulation at that price point is honestly crazy. So I would recommend this. And if you want to join Beauty Pie and you're not a member yet, Carly and I have a code. I believe it saves you $10 off your first purchase. So I'll leave that down below as well if you're interested. Because we've really loved a lot of products from them, and this is no different. I think it's stunning. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.